Hello, I'm Rachel from Dwensa Garden in Ireland, and you are very welcome to this orchid update video. So in this video we're going to do a couple of different things. First up, I'm going to repot my giant octopus orchid, which is Prosthechea cochleata, one that many of you have in your collections, a gorgeous, gorgeous one with brown flowers and little dangly bits that make it look like an octopus. My plant is old and it's large and it needs a repot, so we're going to do that first up. Then I'm going to give you a little update on some orchids in bloom. We have Oncidiums, we have Phalaenopsis, we have Cattleya Alliance ones, and also a little update on my Phrags as this was requested. But before we start, just to point out this Cymbidium that I have in bloom at the moment with its beautiful pendant green flowers, and I absolutely love it. Gorgeous, gorgeous thing. This lives outdoors in, well, not outdoors, in the cold greenhouse. And when I say cold greenhouse, I mean frost-free greenhouse, one that's kept at a minimum of 5 degrees, which is 41 Fahrenheit. But today we're going to start off by doing the repotting here in the outdoor greenhouse, because mess, you know, it's just so much easier to do it out here. The plant has been soaking for a while, it's ready for the repot, and then we'll go indoors and see the other plants that I talked about. Okay, let's get on with the video. Okay, so this should be everything we need for the job, and this plant has been soaking for a very long time. So I guess the next thing we need to do is to get it out of the pot. By the way, I called this the octopus orchid. I don't think that's an official name at all, but I do so think that the flowers look exactly like octopus. It's called the Cockleshell orchid, and actually look here, we have a spike coming here. Now the problem with repotting this orchid is that it is always in flower, and if you're waiting for a breather between flowerings to repot, you'll be waiting a long time. So we're just going to strike while the iron is hot now with this one. Two reasons why I want to repot, and well, I suppose the one is that it has been in this medium for a very long time, and when I water it, kind of brown dust comes out through the holes at the bottom, indicating that the bark is degrading a bit. It's a little bit badly scented as well, so that's a good sign that it's breaking down. So we need to change it. Also, what you will notice here is that, actually hard to see, but can you see this pseudobulb here? It is going brown. And this is not the first pseudobulb to go brown on this plant. I have had one or two others that went brown and I just twisted them and removed them. But today we're going to take it out and see exactly what's going on. So taking the plant out of the pot, and excuse the acoustics, but it's starting to rain now. Isn't it always the way? And I'm just giving it a shake like this to kind of get any loose bark off the top. And already I feel it's actually moving in its pot. But what I'll do is just grab a couple of the pseudobulbs, not one, because there's a big danger there of just tearing the pseudobulb off, but this actually comes out really, really easy. And what a lovely root system this plant has. So we put down the pot, and now I'm just going to worry the remaining orchid bark out, because we do want to clean this plant off as much as possible, because this bark is degraded. I don't want to leave too much on it, but I also don't want to wreck the roots. And oh yeah, it's a little bit smelly. Now, as you can see, we have nice roots on the outside, but not so much on the inside, indicating that the center of the plant, I guess, is dying off, and that is witnessed by the fact that the pseudobulbs that have gone brown have come from the center of the plant. There is that brown one there now. Look, that's not good. I've had this plant for 12 years, can you believe? It was bought as a seedling so many years ago, and it was such a great day when it finally flowered, and it's gone on to just flower pretty constantly after that. So we've a lot of really good root growth going on here at, well, I guess where the new pseudobulbs are. Here as well, new pseudobulbs. This side here is less vigorous, and actually I don't see a new pseudobulb here at all. Now, you know me, I'm a big fan of orchids that when they flower they knock your socks off. But it's nice in a collection to have something like this, the one that's always in flower, kind of the backdrop of blooms. And a lot of people, when they see the flowers on this, they do comment that they're very unusual and very kind of alien-like, and yeah, and they'd like a division. So it is a nice one to have. Also very low maintenance, very easy to care for in terms of the Cattleya alliance, so that's great. Now, as you can see, this is a very, very large plant. I think what I'm going to do is go and give this one a little bit of a rinse, and then we will come back and see what's going on. So here is my plant, and now what I need to do is decide what to do. By the way, apologies for the audio quality. My microphone is out of power, as was my camera a minute ago, so it's just one of those days. I didn't want to divide this plant because I like having a very large plant, but it seems to me that I am probably going to divide it because I need to find out what's going on with that rotting pseudobulb there. It seems to be right in the middle, and just kind of trying to work out which way this plant will divide so that I can access that central piece and make sure that I remove anything that is inclined to rot. And I guess here's the point here where the plant naturally wants to divide. So just kind of moving the roots out of the way as gently as I can, trying not to break them. Well, that one is not. And this is just one plant, but it does seem to want to divide down that way. Yeah, I think maybe what I need to do is to snip it down here and then see what I have. Sorry about that. I know you can't see when I put my hand in there, but just trying to feel with my fingers what's going on. And this is always kind of really important with a plant because very often they want to divide where they want to divide, and it makes sense to let them. Right, so just moving the roots around so we can get in here. And yeah, so we have this point here, the rhizome splits there or curls, and I wonder what will happen if I kind of pull it a bit, or maybe I will use the sterilized secateurs just to give the plant a bit of a snip in here and see if that helps proceedings. All right. Okay, so we're getting two divisions now. Okay. Right, two pieces. Okay. So we have this piece here, which has probably the first pseudobulb, which is very old and very withered now at this stage. We have a pseudobulb here that's yellowing a bit, so that's kind of a worry. And the rest of it looks fairly healthy. If I wanted, this could actually divide quite easily just here. It seems to want to just fall open there, but we won't make that decision just yet. And what we have here on the other side is a larger piece with the rotting pseudobulb, which seems to be attached to nothing else that is yellowing. So if you look in there, there's the rhizome, and it goes there, and yeah, look right in there. So I think here, 1, 2, 3. These are the previous rotting pseudobulbs that I removed, and yeah, and then this is the next one. So we're not looking at a very healthy section of the plant, despite indications to the contrary. Now, if I cut out this pseudobulb, the brown one here, it's actually going to divide this plant further, which I hoped not to do, but it may be the only way to proceed. You know what, I'm going to give it a little snip here, because this needs to come off anyway. And yeah, so in here, and yeah, so this plant then wants to divide. Oh, don't like all these divisions. The more divisions you have, the more plants you have to mind, and I much prefer to mind one big one than like 3 or 4 little ones. Now, come on, come apart, behave, do what you're supposed to. Isn't that always the way with plants? They never do what we want them to do, they just have a mind of their own. Okay, now I'm just kind of pulling here, which isn't a great idea. Let's just see if we can loosen some of those roots rather than rip them. Oh, there we go. Well, there goes some of it anyway. Okay, 2 more bits. So here we are now with 3 pieces of the plant, and I'm going to have to make different decisions on each one as to what to do. Now I guess the first one I'm going to address is the one that's actually physically rotting, and that has the old pseudobulbs there that I twisted out. And these 2 pseudobulbs here, they seem green and healthy, but you know what, they're not flowering anymore. They're much smaller sized from when it was a small plant, a seedling plant. So I think what I might just do here is just divide this here, take off the rotting one, take off that, take all that stuff away, and just keep these 3 pseudobulbs at the front. So the next question is where exactly to snip so that I end up with 3 healthy pseudobulbs and 3 discarded ones, and not cut it further. And I think in there is where I need to apply my secateurs first up. Okay, so let's see what that did. Okay, I just want to say as well that this is a nice healthy plant that flowers regularly, nothing wrong with it, so I'm not worried about it having anything too terrible. I think it's just what's happened over time is that the center of the plant has kind of died off, and I suppose like perennials, as happens with perennials. Right, okay, so here we have a healthy bit, and and this one is good to go. So this is the bit that we're discarding, the old and stunted centre of the plant. That's grand. Right, so what next? And I suppose next we will have a look at this piece here, which has the flower spike coming on it, and has some old sheaths here, has some healthy roots. Yeah, I'll just tidy that up a bit. New growth there, old sheaths can come off. I'll just tidy that up in terms of taking off some of the roots, and we will keep that as is. And then finally we have this piece here, which is a large section of plant, which could be divided further, but I'm not so keen to do that, as I already mentioned. Oh, it does want to divide. Now, these yellow pseudobulbs, these back pseudobulbs, do you know, while I'm at it, I might just take them off because they look like they're going to be on the way out anyway. Remember, the original tiny little shriveled pseudobulb is there. So I am going to just cut the plant here. Oh, I didn't realise I was going to be doing so much cutting today. So in there, and remove those two yellowing pseudobulbs. Now, what have we got here? Okay, I seem to have damaged that one slightly, so I'm going to take off this piece as well. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, as often happens with rhizomes, I seem to have removed this from the main plant, which is a division of 3, which I think I'll pot up, that'll be grand. And then we have this bigger piece, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so here's what we have. We have one division with 3 healthy pseudobulbs. That's a bit of light burn here, and some good roots, and 2 new growths. We have one smaller accidental division with not great roots, 3 pseudobulbs, no new growths. We have a bigger piece here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pseudobulbs, new growth, new growth, new growth, lots of new growths. That's good roots as well, or most of them anyway. We'll tidy it up in a minute. And then this other piece here, which has also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pseudobulbs. Just looking, there does seem to be a little bit of brown creeping up there, which would indicate that that pseudobulb is on the way out. And pseudobulbs die over time, you know, they don't stay forever. So maybe I'll just take that off rather than waiting for it to die. Okay, so there we go. And we have new growth, we have good roots, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 healthy pseudobulbs and a flower. And then we have discarded pieces which account for a lot. So there's that one we just took off with the brown at the base. We have this one here with the 2 yellowing pseudobulbs that we decided we didn't want, although they are big. And then we have the original offending piece with the brown pseudobulb and the older bits that were rotting off. So now it remains for me to just tidy up the roots and repot. Okay, so this is a bit of a cheaty repotting video because I think this is all I'm going to show you. Isn't it always the way? The pot that you plan to put your orchid in turns out unsuitable by the time you've unpotted it and done all the stuff. I had planned on putting this plant back in the original pot it came in, but now I have 3 pieces, and in theory I could put them in the same pot, but it's always just that little bit tricky because, for example, the little one here is going to need less watering than the big ones here, and one of them always starts going downhill, and then you end up having to repot the whole thing again. So I'm going to have to look for 3 pots, and I'm going to have to sterilize them and all that malarkey. So if I get them repotted by the time this video goes out, then I'll put a little clip of them at the very end. I'm going to use sort of medium fine orchid bark this time round because, you know, I think I used like Cattleya orchid bark before, the big stuff, and these roots are a bit finer than Cattleya roots. I may actually use a mix of the two. Okay, so that's not the end of the video. Stay tuned to see these repotted at the very end, but for the moment we're going to go inside now, where things are a lot more under control, where the battery on my camera doesn't run out, where my microphone doesn't run out, where the weather isn't dreadful, and we're going to have a look at my indoor orchids. And here are the first of my flowering orchids at the moment. I just thought I'd show you first up ones that you saw in the last video. So both of these are on their 2nd flowering this year. The top one, the Oncidium, this Sharry baby, obviously everybody knows this one, smells of chocolate and vanilla. I've had it for 7 years and it flowered already this year with a beautiful spike, and now it's sending up a 2nd spike at the same time as it's sending up a new shoot. So that's really great, absolutely wonderful. And the little path that you see down there is one that, well, this one actually hasn't flowered before, but its big brother flowered in the last video and was sending up a 2nd spike at the same time as this baby was producing this lovely flower. So I thought I'd show you this one again. Same flower you saw last time, but it's always good to have more. And next up we have a trio in bloom. There is actually a 4th one, a white store-bought Phalaenopsis that's just flowering forever and ever and ever, but it's less interesting, so I'm just going to show you these 3. Now the one I just placed down there is Phalaenopsis pallens, a real miniature beauty with beautiful brown speckles on small flowers, and it produces quite a lot of flowers that tend to hang down in a gorgeous habit. I love phals that actually hang down. And there's a fuzzy little lip in there too with purple and bearded hairs in it, so I think it's quite a lovely little cutie. This other one here, the yellow, has no name. I bought it also just in a shop, in a store, and it came without a proper ID label. But I absolutely love the sunny yellowness of the petals and how that yellow deepens as you go into the heart of the flower, almost to the extent that it's orange in the very centre, below the centre of the flower. This is one I've had for many years, and yeah, I think it needs a repot, but it's doing quite well. This is one I've had for many years, and it's not a very spectacular flowering this year, just 3-4 buds, but they are so welcome. And then finally in my trio, we have the very famous Phalaenopsis, Sweet Memory Liodoro, that was actually in bloom the last time you saw an orchid update from me. And that same flower is still there. Just the one flower, but beautiful with its mottled arrangements of, I suppose, a kind of beige with spots. And then there's purple, and then there's pink, and there's white, and there's yellow. So there's a lot going on. And it's a shame that there isn't more than one flower on display. But I like this one a lot. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was the scent. Now, this plant is supposed to be sweetly scented, and it does have a vague scent, but really it's nothing to write home about. So why my particular one doesn't have a scent and other ones do is open to debate, whether it's the environment it's grown in, or it's, I don't know, can some particular clones not have scent and others do? I think perhaps. And next up we have some more scented Oncidiums. I started off by showing you the scented Oncidium and I missed out these two, so that's soon to be rectified. Now the big one, the yellow one that you see there, is it's a cultivar called Honeybee, and it has much larger dancing lady flowers than normally you will find on the dancing lady type Oncidiums. And there's a lovely scent from it, really, really nice. I've had this a couple of years, doing fine. It had aphids at one stage, but I sprayed and it seems to have done okay. And beside it we have the Oncidium Alliance plant. It's an Osmoglossum, or whatever the new name for it is, which is going up on the screen now. But this one I've had so very long. I repotted it relatively recently, but I think I put it in too small a pot, so it's definitely due a repot again. Those marks on the leaves have been there for a long time and they don't seem to be progressing, so I'm not going to worry about it. But the flowers are really, really gorgeous. Very upside down type flowers, and they're a white diffused with a very slight marking of purple, which just adds to the delight of this cultured little beauty. Next up we have the only Cattleya Alliance plant that I currently have in flower, and this is a beautiful Encyclia called Encyclia randii, which I've had for several years. Now what I absolutely love about this plant is the large flowers. They really are quite large for an Encyclia. A lot of Encyclias have quite small flowers, and I love brown, so brown is really it's really gorgeous when I get it on flowers. The petals are also slightly undulating, which just adds to the general interest. And the lip, oh my goodness, the lip is so beautiful. A big white ample lip with a pink center, and just looks gorgeous, balancing the upper part of the flowers, which are brown. And it's beautifully scented as well. Now this is a scent that's going to waft through your room. Absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, now I must say my husband doesn't like the scent of the Sharry baby, but he does like the scent of this one. So I suppose his taste isn't all bad. And now moving on to a couple of plants that I have in bud, one of which is an Encyclia, so yes, Cattleya Alliance, and this is Prosthechea prismatocarpa, which is quite a mouthful, and you can see already from the buds how there will be stripes on the flowers of the petals of the flowers when they actually open. And then we have my Dendrobium. Now actually, I should have shown you this Dendrobium together with the first bunch, because this is one that has already flowered for me this year, and now it is sending up lots more flowers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blooms, which are just about to open. And I love the telltale shape of Dendrobium blooms, that kind of cashew shape or pupa chrysalis shape, just waiting to burst forward with glorious blooms. And this one has really large blooms. You remember from the last time, a lovely Dendrobium, currently my favourite Dendrobium. And while I'm showing you this, I've just remembered I do have another Dendrobium in bloom, so let me get that now. It's kind of a scrappy flowering from this Dendrobium nobile type this year, so that's why I kind of forgot about it. It has a lot of canes. I think I'm going to cut out some of the older canes because they're just not doing a whole lot. I do have another couple of spikes coming, but it is going to be a poor flowering on this very old plant. And finally, here's a little update on my Phrag collection, which was requested. Now, 3 of these 4 Phrags were given to me by Ed from Ed's Orchids. Do check out his channel, a great channel. And they're doing well, but no sign of flowers. I've had these frags in a position of too little light, which I think is why they're not flowering. So they've recently been moved to a more prime position, and with a little bit of TLC, including the repotting, hopefully we'll get flowers on the 3 big boys soon. The little guy at the front I picked up in Madeira when I visited the orchid garden there, and it's put on a good bit of growth, so hopefully it will, well, I mean, we're a way off flowering yet, but so it goes. All 4 of these frags do need a repot, so that's a job for another day, as well as my Paphiopedilum collection needing a repot. So I'll have to do all of those very soon. I have been repotting a lot of orchids, and one that I did recently was the Gongora, a great big plant which I repotted in the same hanging basket as it was in before, just removing a couple of damaged leaves. This is a reliable flowerer and I absolutely love it. And I've been repotting cattleyas, one of which is this epidendrum, which is supposed to flower yellow. I think it's called Galaxy something or other, putting the name up on the screen, and it is producing lots and lots of roots. This is one that's supposed to flower directly from the base, not on the existing growths or from a sheath in the axil of the leaf as cattleyas normally do. So I can't wait until this one eventually flowers. I think I have a bit of a wait yet, but we can be hopeful. And that brings me to the end of this video on repotting my giant cochleata, and also a little update on what's in flower and what's coming in my orchid collection. I hope you liked it. If so, then check back for lots more orchid and other plant videos soon. Have a great day. Bye.